The mystery began on a cold Monday morning in February 1996 in Sims Township, Ohio. The usually punctual heart surgeon, Dr. Darryl Sutorius, missed his morning rounds at the hospital for the second day in a row. Attempts to page him brought no response. His colleagues asked the Hamilton County Sheriff's Department to check on the doctor at home. His wife, Della Dante Sutorius, said she didn't know where her husband was. She hadn't seen him in days. But that wasn't unusual. Though they lived under the same roof, the couple led separate lives. She often went weeks without seeing him. The police asked if they could look around the home. First, they checked to see if the doctor's car was in the garage. When they found it, the engine was cold. He hadn't driven it recently. Their search was cut short by a scream. In a basement room, Darryl Sutorius had been found. His head lay in a pool of blood. A steel .38 caliber revolver gleamed on the carpet. After devoting his life to healing others, it appeared the doctor had killed himself. His wife of little more than a year was now a widow. The officers on the scene couldn't foresee that this was the beginning of a case that would be read by hundreds of thousands of true crime fans. As news of the death was splashed across the pages of the Cincinnati newspapers, it caught the attention of best-selling crime writer Aphrodite Jones.
It was the front page of all the papers, and I heard people were talking about it, and I went and grabbed the papers right out on the bookstand, and I just said, whoa, this is it. I just immediately knew this was my story. I had to have this story. It was like falling in love.
This story would become Jones's fourth true crime book. The Sutorius case had all the right ingredients: deception, betrayal, and death. At the scene, there was every indication the victim's death was a suicide. The gun was collected, and gunmetal tests on the victim's hands proved that he had fired the weapon. To try to understand why the victim would take his own life, police questioned his wife, Della. She told them they were practically estranged. In her few encounters with her husband in the weeks before his death, he seemed angry and depressed. He had good reason. Darryl and Della had fought often, mostly about money. To keep the peace, they agreed to live on different floors of the large house they shared. Della believed that her husband had killed himself rather than face a painful divorce. While Della had her say, forensics experts were finding a different story at the scene. Though the doctor may have been lonely, police were not convinced he was by himself when he died. Investigators weren't ready to write it off to suicide just yet. Police found a second bullet lodged in the rug. When the pistol was examined, it was found that 2 shots, not one, had been fired. Strange as it seems, according to coroner Carl Parrott, that's not unheard of in suicide cases.
Some suicides do include multiple shots. Some suicides include a test shot, or a so-called test shot. It's theorized that people discharge the weapon just to see how loud it is.
But another clue was not so easily dismissed. Among the blood spatters was a smear on the couch cushion. From the position of the mark, it was unlikely that he could have made it as he fell. Sutorius could not have killed himself and then smeared his own blood. It looked as if someone had altered the scene. Parrott also noticed something odd about the position of the body. The victim's right hand was extended out from the couch directly over the gun. It looked like the gun had fallen from his lifeless fingers. But the blood spatter contradicted that.
On the palmar surface, there was sprayed or spattered blood. Spray blood implies that this surface of the hand was up and exposed to blood which is exhaled during terminal respiration. Now, however, the hand is out like this.
The victim's position had apparently changed after the fatal shot. There was no other way to explain the blood on his hand. The head wound was unlike any suicide Dr. Parrott had ever seen.
The gunshot wound of entrance was above the superior attachment of the right ear. And the trajectory was front going at about approximately 45 degrees. This was also a non-contact wound.
The entrance wound was high at the back of the head, and the gun had to have been fired from some distance away.
People typically don't pull the weapon well behind. This is an uncomfortable position to adopt, particularly when you're lying down.
It was unlikely that a surgeon so well versed in anatomy would have risked missing his mark. It now looked like the doctor had been murdered.